Hello, good evening, and welcome to Varsity Maine Live from the Portland Press Herald. I'm Travis Lazarzik, and tonight I'm joined by my colleague from the Press Herald, Steve Craig. Steve, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Travis.
Just you and I tonight, so we'll soldier through.
It's okay. You know I like to talk.
All right. Our guests tonight are twins and juniors at Oceanside High School in Rockland. They are two of the top wrestlers in the state. Maddie is currently 34-3 and was a runner-up at the state match last year. Gavin is 39-0, and he won the Class B state title last year. Gavin and Maddie Ripley, thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
This weekend, you guys have the regionals out at Freiburg Academy. You go from one end of the state to the other. What are your expectations going into this match, this meet?
Hopefully, I'm gonna come out first and get good seating for states.
I hope that I come out first and get really good seedings for states and hopefully making it to New England.
So you guys have some goals beyond this tournament, clearly, right?
Yes.
Gavin, let's start with you because I feel like sometimes maybe you get a little overshadowed because your sister is successful and it's still somewhat unique that a girl is so competitive as she is. But I mean, you're 39-0 this year. You swept the B South, the Class B, the New England qualifier last year. I mean, what are your goals for this year?
To end up on the podium for New England's. Hope to place at that.
How did you do last year down there?
I win 1-2. I lost my first match against a guy who ended up placing 6th at the tournament, and then I won my second match to make it to day 2.
Right. Yeah, and I've often heard from coaches and athletes that you almost have to go there once before you can really try and be competitive. You have to have that experience. Now, Maddie, you're potentially able to do something that's never been done in the state, which is a girl winning the open tournament.
Yes.
Last year, you won the B South Regional and you advanced and got beat by a really tough kid, in the state final who was a senior when you were only a sophomore.
Mhm.
Is that something that you want to achieve, to be that first girl from Maine to win in
Yes.
the open tournament?
Yes, it is. And I have a really good chance this year. Won't be easy, but I definitely think this will be my year.
Now, I reread the story that we wrote last year going into states. You said you didn't really feel any pressure. I'm wondering, is that still how you feel now?
I mean, I try not to think about it that way. Just go
Mhm.
out and wrestle how I always do.
Right, right. And you guys come from I don't know if the viewers can see this, but it looks like there's some weight benches and workout equipment behind you. Tell the viewers where you actually are tonight and what it's all about.
We're in our barn where we usually work out, and I mean, you can't see it, but we have wrestling mats right behind you. So if there's like a snow day or something, we usually just get a one-on-one practice,
Hmm.
just get some type of exercise in.
It's a wrestling family, isn't it, Maddie? Can you kind of fill it in for us
Yes,
a little
it
bit?
is. All four of us wrestle. We've been wrestling in the barn for as long as I can remember. It's been like we used to come up and wrestle with the high school. So it's nice to have the space.
Yeah, and just for some background, the Ripley's older sister Shannon was a national collegiate champion at Husson in 2018, and their older brother Ben was also a Class B state champion as a freshman, and then the runner-up the following year. And your dad's stepdad, Jason Yates, is the Oceanside coach. So are there times when you wish you could get away from wrestling? It seems like it's there all the time.
No, I like it because especially during the wrestling season, I mean, we always get really good input after the tournaments on what we did wrong, what we could do better. And like I said, when there's a snow day and we have a practice up here, we can tailor it towards what we need to do to get better.
And also when we're at practice, I mean, he's always talking about like wrestling stuff, but when we come home, it's kind of like a break and then we just talk about what we can do better. So it's not all about it.
You guys told me in the both when we set this up last Saturday at the dual meet championships where that Oceanside took part in, and then again earlier today that there was a time when you guys were basically the same size. Right now, Maddie is wrestling primarily at the 106-pound class, and Gavin 132, right? this year. So a pretty big gap now, but that wasn't always the case, right? Was that tough wrestling your sister or your brother?
Yes, it was because I was always a little bit smaller, but we were always like in sixth grade, it was like 62 and 63, and then there was 75 spot. So we had to wrestle for that. And then I had to do 81 for 2 years. He went 75, and then eighth grade, we separated finally.
So you made Gavin, you made her wrestle at the heavier weight class?
Yes. Whoever wins the wrestle off gets it.
Yes, I remember when the Frost brothers were all competing. That they did the same thing, right? So, uh, Gavin, are you kind of glad now that you can sort of you just can each have success, right? It's not coming at the expense of the other.
Yeah, but Maddie is a really good practice partner, especially when we were the same weight. So that probably got us a lot better.
One thing we talked about a little bit that I think it's great for people to hear is wrestling's not all you guys do when it comes to athletics, right? Maddie, what other sports do you play?
I play field hockey and softball. And I do some off-season field hockey. So sports is always what we do.
And Gavin?
Yeah, I do football and baseball.
Gavin, is there crossover? Does it help you as a wrestler to play these other sports?
Yes, being a wrestler definitely helps with football, especially on the defense side, because I'm much better at tackling.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then do you get it? Is there anything from the other sports that you can transfer to wrestling? Either one of you?
Work ethic.
Yeah.
Not giving up.
Having like good mentality when you're pitching and stuff. I tend to I can breathe through it because wrestling's always helped that.
Right. Hey, kind of one more question from me for both of you. You know the other probably better than anyone. So, Maddie, tell us what makes Gavin a really top-notch wrestler.
What I think is he doesn't talk to anyone before his match. He stays to himself. He's quiet. But right after his match, he'll be talking to everyone. He's he gets serious when he needs to, and then he goes out and wrestles tough. And it's just good.
So real focused. Does he have a particular strength when it comes to the actual techniques or attributes of a wrestler?
His shots, they're unstoppable. Once he's in on the legs, they can't get out. And he's just
all right. Your turn, Gavin. What makes Maddie a successful wrestler?
Her mentality, especially in the match. If she's not focused in the very beginning of the match, she immediately gets focused once it actually starts, and she gets more mad throughout the match, which I think helps her being aggressive.
Do you get more nervous when you're wrestling or the other person's wrestling?
I cannot watch Maddie's matches. I usually just turn away and warm up for mine. I didn't watch any of her matches at regional state or all state. I couldn't.
I used to be able to watch his matches, but this year's a little different. Once we got to the bigger tournaments, it was hard to watch.
That's kind of fascinating. And is that just because you care so much, or I mean?
Yeah, I get very nervous when she's wrestling because I want her to win, obviously.
Okay, guys, your team Oceanside just won the KVAC title. Kind of break down your chances in the competition at the upcoming regionals and then states. Who look like the teams you're going to really have to look out for in Freiburg this weekend, and then down the line at the state match?
Wells is definitely a big competitor that we'll have to go against at regionals, but I think we can be at least in the top three if our whole team is there and is healthy.
Okay. Well, guys, we thank you for your time tonight. Good luck at the remaining big matches, and thanks for joining us, everybody. Gavin and Maddie Ripley.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here tonight.
Yes, thank you very much for taking the time to join us. Appreciate it. Good to get to know you a little bit. Good luck too this week and beyond, because it really is. It's the start of a long month of wrestling, right? Hopefully.
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We'll move on to athletes of the week. And we will start with Winthrop's Morgan Fickthorn. She had 15 points and 16 rebounds in a 58-43 girls basketball victory over Kents Hill on Monday. Garrett Card from Messalonskee boys hockey. He scored 4 goals in a 13-1 win over the Coney, Halldale, Monmouth, Winthrop, Erskine co-op. Jalissa McMahon from Sanford girls basketball. She scored 25 points in the Spartan 60-52 victory over Marshwood on Tuesday. Billy Albertson, Skowhegan track and field. He won 3 events at the KVAC at a KVAC indoor meet. Albertson won the 55-meter dash, the long jump, and the triple jump. Addison Paulus from Gardner girls swimming. She won the 200 freestyle and the 100 backstroke in a meet with Wiscasset and Lincoln Academy. She also swam on 2 victorious relay teams, the 200 medley and the 200 freestyle. Vincenzo Vanelli from Massabesic Wrestling. He's a senior heavyweight, and in his first season of competitive wrestling, he pinned his opponent from Noble in the championship round of the Class A duels team tournament on Saturday at Coney. Steve, just what can you tell me about Vincenzo and Massabesic and how they look to do at their regionals coming up?
Yeah, big picture for Massabesic. You got to say they're the favorite right now to win Class A's. Class B South will be tough. There's very good teams, particularly Noble and Sanford. And sometimes in the tournament as opposed to a dual meet format, you get different outcomes. But Vincenzo is just kind of like one of those great stories. Here's a kid who basically played basketball his whole life, and all his friends told him, basically they knew the kid was really a wrestler, not a basketball player, and they finally convinced him to try a new sport as a senior. And he's after he won this particular match against a young man from Noble who had beaten him twice. He was 14-13 on the season, and he's helping a team, probably, in my opinion, win a state championship. And you could see that his teammates in that photo were jacked, and Joe Eon, a former, I believe, 4-time state champion himself, is the first-year coach. He was the man with the. Oh, there he is. I was waiting for the.
It's not an
typical...
episode of Varsity Maine Live until a cat walks across the screen.
I've lost my whole screen here. Hopefully, everybody can see me okay.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, Vincenzo Vanelli, great story. Massabesic's the team to beat, I think, in Class A.
Yeah, it's probably a case of the coaches at Massabesic going, why didn't we get you sooner? We could have turned you into a big-time champion.
Yeah, well, and honestly, heavyweight is so unpredictable, and I really don't know whether Vincenzo has a chance to win a regional or a state title, but he's going to be going in there with some confidence, and who knows what can happen. And like I say, it's usually that is the most unpredictable weight class, because it usually is whoever gets the first takedown. If it's a forceful one, that often turns into a pin.
Okay, thank you. Audrey Mackey had 22 points to lead the Oceanside girls basketball team to a 55-41 victory over Maranacook on Monday. Jalen Jackson from South Portland boys basketball, the senior guard, scored 19 points in the game-winning shot with 2 seconds to play in the Red Riot's 55-54 win at Gorham on Tuesday. It was Jackson's second game-winning shot in the last 3 games. Steve, I think the Red Riots are playing their rival Portland tonight. They're the defending AA champs. They've won 5 in a row going into that game tonight and sit second in AA South. How do they look going into the playoffs?
Well, they knocked off Gorham, who had an 8-game win streak, and Jackson is playing really tough. I mean, he's a kid that he might take a shot early in the game, and you're like, what is he thinking? But at the end of the game, he wants the ball, and he's not afraid to miss. So therefore, he's very effective because he's going to be aggressive. He's going to go to the hole. He's going to, he's not afraid to take a shot. So you got to like that. He won the game at Bonnie Eagle a week and a half ago with a 3-pointer at the buzzer. So I think right now I'd still have to say Thornton's the team to beat in A South, but Bonnie Eagle just knocked them off on the same night that
Right.
South Portland beat Gorham. So Bonnie Eagle, which has been kind of a up and down all season, sort of hard to get a gauge on. Maybe it's a legitimate 4-team race where there's just not much separation between those. But Thornton has that Will Davies. I think he's the best player, certainly in that league, maybe the best player in the state, and they have some good size and versatility around him.
Okay, thank you. Zach Lovett, Oxford Hills, and Bo Mayo from Levitt. They each became the first football players from their schools to win the Frank J. Gaziano Lineman Award, announced Saturday. Lovett was named the defensive winner, Mayo the offensive winner. Each received a $5,000 scholarship and a pretty slick trophy. Ilya Zinman of the Yarmouth Freeport girls hockey team had 2 goals and 3 assists in a 7-1 win over Lewiston. Aaron Higgins of Falmouth boys hockey scored a pair of goals and added an assist in a 3-1 win over Marshwood Trape Noble Sanford Co-op. And Kylie Lamson, Thornton Academy girls basketball, the freshman hit 7 3-pointers, scored 28 points in a 67-37 victory over Bonnie Eagle on Tuesday. There's your athletes of the week. We have polls. You can check these out at varsitymaine.com. These are voted on by Maine Today media sports writers from around the state. We'll start with girls hockey, who playoffs start this week. We have Yarmouth Freeport with 3 first-place votes and 31 points for first place. The Chevers Girl Co-op team with 3 first-place votes and 29 points for second place. Penobscot with a first-place vote and 28 points, followed by the Winslow Co-op and the Gorham Co-op. So with the playoffs underway already, these should shake out in the coming days. Boys hockey, no doubt with number 1, it's Falmouth picking up all 7 first-place votes. They are on a 12-game win streak with their win last night, 3-2 over Edward Little. Brunswick and Cape Elizabeth, the 2 top teams in Class B South, are tied for second. Number 4 is Edward Little, we previously mentioned, and number 5 is Thornton Academy. Girls basketball is as close as any poll we have right now. Number 1, Chevers with 5 first-place votes, 74 points. Number 2, Oxford Hills with a first-place vote and 72 points. Number 3, Gardner picks up a first-place vote and 55 points. Number 4, Oceanside picks up a first-place vote and 51 points. And then Thornton Academy rounds out the top 5. Steve, I guess that just shows how deep girls basketball is in the Class AA and A particularly.
Yeah, and Lawrence came really close to knocking off Gardner. Right? Was it just like 2 nights ago? And I have them in my top 10 and have for a couple of weeks. Yeah. And Coney is going to be a challenger and up in A North as well. Brunswick looks like they kind of have they should win A South. They've established themselves as the best team. And then you got the AA North in particular, with Chevers, Oxford Hills, and then Bangor is sort of lurking, and that could be a really good tournament.
Okay. Finally, the boys basketball poll. Oxford Hills picking up all 8 first-place votes, followed by number 2, Brewer, who recently picked up their first loss of the season to a Skowhegan team that's coming on strong as of late. Number 3, Portland. Number 4, Ellsworth keeps climbing up. They're undefeated in Class B North. And then number 5, Thornton. Steve, I guess that South Portland game tonight will kind of tell us a lot about 2 of the top contenders in AA.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be outlandish that they could be in the state final. I mean, I don't think either goes in as the favorite in their region, but and Portland's a team. I have like 2 weeks ago, I had Portland down at 8. This week, I put them at 3rd, which I guess was what the consensus was. So I don't know about Portland. I mean, I think they're a really tough, gritty team, and they have some real good players, but they play so many close games, and while it's great that they win most of them, that also leaves them in that precarious position of somebody throwing in a half-court shot to beat them or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, should be. I'm getting excited. We're pretty darn close to the basketball tournament. It really is probably at least my second favorite time. I like football a lot, but the basketball tournament is just the coolest time, I think, for Maine high school sports in the year. And
I agree.
We're getting close.
Yeah, it's coming up in just over a week. It's going to be a fun time. Looking forward to it a lot.
With a lot of track meets mixed in. I got a couple of track meets to go to.
It's that time of year where just all the championships run into each other. Yeah.
Yes. What are you looking forward to, Travis? What are you looking forward to?
Well, I was just about to go to that. We have girls hockey regional semifinals Saturday night. Friday and Saturday. Friday have in Class A. Well, there's only one class in girls hockey. You have Cape Elizabeth, Wayne Fleet, South Portland Co-op versus the Gorham Co-op. And on Saturday, the York Co-op versus the Chevers Co-op. And the winners of those 2 games will play each other next week on Wednesday for the regional title. What about you, Steve? What are you looking forward to coming up?
Well, it's a couple things I have to cover that I do enjoy doing is I am going to go to the Western Maine Conference indoor track meet on Friday. It'll be a late night at the University of Southern Maine, but there's usually always some great performances, and we'll look to see who, will a Matt Charpentier set a state record like he did last year at this meet, um, or who's going to break through and maybe have a surprise performance. Those are good. And then I have the rest of the Class A South wrestling the next week. So we'll see if my comments about Massabesic hold up or whether I don't know what I'm talking about. But
To be
uh,
determined in that regard.
and then really it's there's a couple of teams that I haven't gotten to see yet this year. Chevrolet's boys basketball for one, and Silvano Ishmael. I really hope I get to see him play in the tournament. And Chevrolet is a team. I saw them last year. You could tell they were young and up and coming, and they're going to be a threat in Double A North. And Ishmael is averaging like 25 points a game and 7 rebounds as a guard. So I'd like to see him play.
All right. Well, that's going to do it this week for us on Varsity Maine Live. We're reminded to check out varsitymaine.com for the absolute best coverage of high school sports in Maine. For Maddie, for Gavin, for Steve, I'm Travis. Thanks for joining us on Varsity Maine Live.